Hey everyone, Dr. West, and we are talking about Lyme disease and toxic overload. We have a little bit as people are coming on board, and so I'm excited to share that with you. And this is why people struggle with Lyme disease, is because they literally can't get the poisons that are out of their system. So this is what we're going over tonight. I'm really excited to work with you. If you have questions, put them right over here into the chat. Again, what tonight's program is Lyme disease and toxic overload, and making sure that your pathways are open. If your pathways aren't open, it's literally like running in quicksand or being inside of a toxic environment. You're never going to get better. So we've created a nice little presentation of why you're sick and tired. Well, that's one of the things that we're doing with Lyme disease, helping understand some of the testing, some of the symptoms. And so we're going to be going through that in just a minute as we get everything ready, and we're teed up. So we're just a little bit ahead of schedule here. And so I'm going to go and literally get everybody ready for Lyme disease, 40 different symptoms, why it's so misunderstood, some of the best testing available. I mean, some of the best places to start is to get a baseline of everything that you are, a complete blood cell count, a metabolic panel, and then there's some specialty tests available that really help with Lyme disease. So we're doing the Lyme disease and we're doing the toxic load. And so we're going to get into that in just here in a minute. I'm testing out tech. Here it is. Okay, so the presentation is perfect. Really excited to do that, share that with everybody. Okay, so we were getting ready to start 5 o'clock. We are going to run everything back on Lyme disease, toxic load, why some people are so sick, why some people get better and improve. And we were getting ready to go at 5:30. So we're going to be going over some of the things that I see that really slow down people's healing. Now, with Lyme disease, what happens is it's kind of the disease of loneliness. So Lyme disease, like you're here, you're my microphone, and you have, your primary care provider and your cousin and your partner or your kids or your neighbors. And you're trying to find things on YouTube and the internet, and now we're using artificial intelligence. And what happens is if we are really, really aware of Lyme disease environment, this is where I see the real breakthroughs come. It's not an antibiotic deficiency disease. So it's now officially 5:30. I'm ready to start our program. Our program is Lyme and toxic overload. I put together a little outline here, why you're sick and tired and misunderstood. And maybe there's some nuggets that you're going to get out of this. And when I say maybe, like I've been working on Lyme disease for literally the past 25 years. And it's so misunderstood and misdiagnosed. And one of the things that is unfortunately happens in allopathic medicine, I mean, this is my training. My training on Lyme disease, it was a vector-borne illness that you get bit, people get an erythema migrans, this red bullseye rash. You give people 2 weeks of antibiotics, either doxycycline or Rocephin, and everybody's healed. A very, very rare component of that is people will they'll get sick and they'll get this chronic post-traumatic or post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome. They call it PTLDS, post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome. Yeah, PTLDS. Okay, so I want to break through some of those barriers and talk about the Lyme disease and the toxic overload. So as we jump right into that, I'm excited to also be able to do question answer period. And we have those comments, well, for me, they're right over here that we're going through. I also have a couple questions that were submitted for people before that were like, hey, Dr. West, can you go over and help me to find what is the problem or what is making people so sick? And of course, we're going to go over that as well. So one of the things people say is, how come some people get better and some people don't? And the answer to that is, Welcome to the world of genetics. Some people, what happens is they get exposed to Lyme and their body just responds almost immediately. And they're really, really lucky because their genetics are super, super strong. So when we talk about the environment and the difference, and this is the real hook, or I shouldn't say hook, this is the real value, is that you're as different, biologically different as your fingerprints. And so what happens with people, you know, if you're here, you're fighting Lyme, or someone that you love is fighting Lyme, like this is the presentation that I want to share with you, because most people that have Lyme disease are taught that they maybe it's all in their head, they're mental. You know, that there was a study that showed that most people saw at least 8, sometimes as many as 13 or 14 doctors before they got a diagnosis, because Lyme is the great imitator. It can imitate autoimmune disorders. It can imitate myalgic encephalopathy, which is, you know, the new way of saying fatigue. It can mimic neuropathy. It can disrupt hormones. And one of the things that I see happens with so many people is Lyme disease turns you into a vampire. Now, it's not on purpose. What I mean by turning you into a vampire is I think it really disrupts the pineal gland, which releases melatonin, and melatonin gets mistakenly said, oh, it's just a hormone that helps you to sleep. Melatonin is actually an anti-inflammatory and an immune system regulator, and one of the ways that we heal and we get better is because we sleep well. Now, with Lyme disease, what happens is if you're not a square peg going into a square hole, a lot of times what happens is people get told, oh, well, you're the problem. It's not on the doctor side, it's your problem. And so they start thinking, well, let's give them some type of, you know, antidepressant. It must be because they're depressed. It must be because they have melancholy. But chronic fatigue and the anxiety and the brain fog that frequently goes along with chronic infections. I mean, Lyme disease is an important one, but right behind it is Epstein-Barr, and looking at chronic sinus infections and chronic urinary tract infections. Like, those all have an enormous effect. And what they have in common is this: it's the environment that determines the disease. Now, this is exactly opposite what I taught in, 4 years of undergrad and 2 doctoral programs. I was taught, no, it's the bug that causes the disease. It's the bacteria, Borrelia burgdorferi, that goes after the body and it causes a myriad of symptoms. But that's, in my opinion, not what happens. The host has to have a decrease in energy or a sickness, and then what happens from there is we set up an environment where this opportunistic bacteria goes after the joints and the heart and the lung. And really what happens is Lyme disease, I feel, is a cellular disruptor. It breaks up these little power units of the body called mitochondria. When the mitochondria go away, it collapses. And so when you have a toxic environment where your phase 1, phase 2 detox pathways don't work, your liver doesn't work, your kidneys don't work, and all of the blood in the body, I think it's every 3 minutes, goes through the thyroid. So you don't think of thyroid as a target organ of Lyme disease, except all of the toxins and everything get clogged up in there, and so then it can't rotate. And so when that happens, it's like having your body on a 5% battery and the charger's broken and someone is opening all the apps and just stealing all the energy. Chronic Lyme disease, in my opinion, is like someone taking an extension cord and plugging it into your body and stealing everything out. So one of the things that I want to talk about is the importance of being able to process and to get rid of poisons. So we start talking about mold exposure. And there are tiny amounts that it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. So if there's water and mold, or if there's an overuse of antibiotics and we get yeast into the system. I mean, yeast and mold are kind of tell people it's kind of the difference between a caterpillar and a butterfly. And what it does is it slows down your body's ability to heal because it dilutes your immune system. Instead of all of your soldiers attacking one thing, that Lyme bacteria, it's fighting mold, which it looks like liver tissue. I mean, it's so similar to liver tissue. The other really big disruptor of Lyme disease or barrier to healing is heavy metals. So they disrupt enzymes and they're really hard on nerves, and nerves are the electricity, it's the wiring of your body. And so many times people with Lyme disease, they have a nerve memory. So we work on a lot of people at the office that have had, either a gallbladder removed and they have phantom gallbladder playing, or we'll have a rancher or rodeo guy come in and be roping an animal and the animal takes off and it pulls their finger off. And what happens is the person is like, hey, my finger is killing me even though it's not attached to the body. So what's happening is that nerve is telling the nervous system, I hurt, I hurt, I hurt. Even though there's no body part attached, that's a nerve memory. And the same thing can happen with infections. Your mind, you want to live up here, and your body is down here. And so what happens is we're not dead, but we're not really alive. And that's something that happens in chronic Lyme so many times, is the nervous system thinks it's normal to be sick. And then, because I think of where we live in 2025, we are literally bombarded with environmental toxins, herbicides, pesticides, never die chemicals, food preservatives, microplastics, and literally we just have too many poisons coming into the system. And then here's something else that can happen. If we have a clogged toilet and then we have a person come in and try to use the toilet, that's what happens if you don't have your detox pathways open. And then we hit you with a bunch of antibiotics or saw palmetto or cat's claw or high dose vitamin C or ozone therapy or pulsating or different types of antimicrobials. There's no place for it to go. And so one of the classic signs of this is worsening symptoms after stress and exertion and your brain fog that the brain cannot keep up. Another one I feel that is a classic sign of chronic infection and chronic Lyme disease is allergies that never ever go away. And then typically one of the first organs in the body to be the casualty is the stomach. So look, if your stomach's not healthy, you're not healthy. I mean, this is why more and more of functional and integrative medicine, everything starts in the gut, because you are what you eat and you are what you absorb. So you guys, let's start talking about some of the really nice, what you can do right now to help with Lyme disease, but also I feel that this really applies to other chronic infections. So number one, we want to get your body to start cleaning out the jails, which are the lymph nodes. So I kind of think that your white blood cells, they're like state police officers or sheriff's deputies. They go around and they arrest the bad guys and take them to jail. And the bad guys are the bacterial and basically the antigens are the bad things that are in your blood that are slowing down healing. And what happens is the immune system basically goes around and either engulfs them or basically handcuffs them and takes them to jail. And the jail are the lymph nodes of the body. And then what happens is your jails can get full and then there's no way to process infection. And so one of the best ways to do is to get the lymph to move and to help the jails to unclog, and that is musculoskeletal exercise. So I know people with Lyme disease that feel horribly ill, and my first bit of advice from it is please try to move just a little bit more. If you don't move, there's no chance for your body to improve. And one of the best ways to do that is just try to start walking and walking a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more. Walking is my favorite exercise. Another consideration would be to try and pulsate the body and go from hot to cold and cold to hot. And maybe it's not necessarily an ice bath and a steam sauna, but maybe it's going to get my body a little cold, a little hot. We want to have those cold shock proteins to be beneficial and the heat shock proteins. And what helps the body with the immune system is a little bit of heat. And then looking at, okay, is there a way that we can help the body system? And that is through hydration. That's through gentle lymph massage. And then I really like some detoxifying processes. I like activated charcoal. I like morellinite clay. I think that, zeolite has a place. My favorite one is a Spanish black radish and an herb called tillandsia. I think those are really, really useful. And we're basically trying to remind your body that we have a scavenger crew. We have a demolition crew that is just pulling out all of the debris. And we want to remind your body that it's not a zombie apocalypse. So when we start doing things in the wrong order, then we can get into trouble. So we need to make sure that we get the toxins out, but maybe one of the first things we do is got to make sure that the body is healthy enough to get the toxins out. And the overuse of prescriptive medications and the overuse of supplements, herbs, phytonutrients, peptides, glandulars. So we have to have this beautiful space in between. I've helped a lot of people literally by just cutting down on some of the supplements. It's not unusual for people that have chronic Lyme disease to come into the office and have 20 or 25 or 30 different things. And look, this is one of the things that a little bit is good, but a lot is not always better. Now, there's a really neat way to help you to figure out what is the most important vitamin or nutrient or herbal or glandular or adaptogen or tincture or tea by literally doing a whole food nutrient test. We can do a whole new food nutrient test, open up the cell, and we can literally find out what is inside that we need. This is a test I just recently did on myself. I have a tendency to read about things and be like, okay, I do not want dementia. I do not want heart problems. I want to age as healthy and as gracefully as possible. And so when we do that, what happens is we can figure out exactly what it is. So here I am taking 18, 19 different things 3 times a day because I don't want to miss anything. That's quote food insurance, or that's the supplement. And then I do this test and I find out I'm slightly off in copper, in an isoleucine, in leucine, and I think it was CoQ10. 4 things. I created a custom formula. Man, it's amazing how good you can feel when you give the body what it needs. Not what you fall in love with, not what I fall in love with, not what your doctor falls in love with. It's what you need. Now, you guys, one of the things that I'm excited to share with you is it's not just me saying it. I wanted to share with you basically what happens when we put all of those building blocks in place. And so when we do that, let me show you. We have a patient success stories where it's not just me saying that. It's over on our website called West Clinic Online. And here it is. So you go to West Clinic, you go right up here to the blog. And the reason why I wanted to share that with you is it's not just me saying it. Like there are so many stories of people, if I just type in Lyme in the structure, one is I tell you a little bit about why I became a Lyme doctor and how we helped Victoria beat her condition, 20-year battle against Lyme disease. And with Greg, where literally his joints fell apart and he started having all these eye floaters, and so excited to share with you Tana's story, how she beat Lyme disease, and you can too. And lessons from Lorraine, where someone is just a warrior and did not give up. And Leek, I could go on and on and on. I helped Holly beat her Lyme disease. And we just have story after story about, not only Lyme, but the co-infections. It's Lyme disease, it's viruses. It was really fun to help Brandon beat his condition of over a decade. So why I share this with you, I just want to give people some vitamin H, and the vitamin H means that you are not your disease. Vitamin H stands for vitamin hope. And so let's kind of break it down, how we can help get rid of toxins. Number one, the first place I like to start is with water. I like also to try and get a little bit more musculoskeletal movement. My favorite thing to help people, Spanish black radish is a really good. Morellinite clay, bentonite clay are considerations. Tudka is another one. Pectisol is another really good consideration. I'm really liking a Native American herb called lomatium is really useful. We want to help mobilize things. Now, if there is a toxic, toilet clog, maybe we need to build up the body. And that the way that you do that is do some specific testing. And the testing we do is we want to look at intracellular Lyme, and we want to look at Lyme spores. So we do a research project called medical microscopy. And that helps, in my opinion, to identify what phase the Lyme disease in and a specific way to help if it's the spirochete or if it's the intracellular or if it's the spore or if it's the cyst form. There's a little bit of different approach to that. But here's the other thing is to get everything balanced and looking at, okay, how can we help the immune system? Can we sleep better? Can we get rid of electromagnetic frequency radiation? Can we do any type of grounding? Can we help with immune system stimulation and lymphatic drainage? A great place to start is to do testing, not guessing. So testing, like just normal labs are so valuable. A complete blood cell count with auto differentiation to look at what is the white blood cells doing? What are the bacterial titers doing, the neutrophils? What are the lymphocytes or the viral markers doing? What are the inflammatory markers doing? Like we know that. And then we look at your white cell count. Like, are we even responding? So we can look at that white cell count and look at the marker and be like, okay, the body thinks it's normally sick. There's nothing happening here. That's like having a house where the guard dogs are, when the robber breaks in, the guard dogs don't even do anything. Then what we want to look at is the liver doing well? Is the kidney doing well? Is the pH good? Are we filtering things right? What are our trace minerals? What is our blood sugar? We can look at inflammatory markers. We can look at thyroid function and total iron and ferritin function. Like all these are standard routine labs. And do they tell you that you have Lyme disease? And the answer is no, those don't. But what the value is when we get everything balanced, things do enormously better. And that's really the secret, get everything balanced on it. Then when we talk about toxins, heat deprivation therapy, cold therapy, so hot baths, ice baths. And if you can't handle ice baths, like trying to get cold, try to get a little bit warmer. Like all of those are going to be really, really helpful for to get that pumping process started. Eating healthy and alive foods. Some of my favorite things to tell people is, cilantro and peppers and squash and carrots are really useful in getting the body nutrients, but also helping to get poisons out of the system. I also like something called cetyl myristoyl or CMO. It's a really nice anti-inflammatory. Melatonin is really useful when it comes to regulating the immune system. And then it sounds too simple, but something that I really, really like is vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 has some amazing health properties, that anti-inflammatory properties that I just really, really enjoy and I like and are really, really useful. So when we look at all of the things of how we can help and get rid of things in the body or get rid of toxins in the body, it's really important, healthy and alive food, lots of water, and be really careful with pre-processed, pre-digested, synthetic. For lack of a better words, you got to be really careful of plastic foods and also fast foods. A really good rule that I tell people is when you sit down to eat, number one, have rainbow colors on your plate. So I like a protein source, and then some red and some yellow and some green and some orange. And if you can eat it 100 years ago, it's a good spot. Now, of course, they had sweets and pies and cookies and stuff that time ago. But one of the things that I want to be careful with, especially, is food dyes. I see people respond really well when we get rid of food dyes. So that's a lot of what I wanted to cover on this program on the Lyme and toxic overload. I'm looking at the questions to see. Okay, here's one. It says, Dr. West, what is the very best single thing that I can do to get toxins out of my system? And here's how I'd answer that. The first thing is I hope that you're getting enough water. I like people to be over 100 ounces. Now, when I get 100 ounces, this is when I feel my best as far as energy levels and ability to recall things. And a good gauge for me is if I just have my hands that are limber. So I really, really like that part is, do I have limber hands? And that's water. That's the first thing. The next thing, if I had to pick one thing, I just love the herb Spanish black radish and another herb called tillandsia. I just see such beautiful toxin removal effects. Also, looking at liver and looking at, some type of liver extract. Now, if I was really, really tough, I would be eating liver all the time. And you guys, I try to eat liver. I just struggle. So I'd rather have it, basically as a liver extract to clean the liver. And I'm also looking at things that help with kidney function. And now I like using a kidney extract or a kidney peptide that helps to flush the liver. And then another thing that is very useful in helping with toxins is uric acid. Now, you can evaluate uric acid on a simple, inexpensive blood test, but the breakdown of proteins, it breaks down into pyrimidines or purines. If we have too many purines in our system, it builds up to this inflammatory acid, uric acid. And if it gets really high, it causes gout. And gout is like having ground glass in your joints. But you can have a uric acid toxicity and not have gout. It just literally slows everything up. So we're looking at those pathways and looking at how we can help people that'll really, really improve with toxin removals. So water. Another thing that we talked about that's overrated all the time is sleep. And I know people that have struggled with Lyme. It turns them into vampires. They can't stay awake during the day. They can't go to sleep at night. They're exhausted until they lay down and they can't really rest. And so developing a sleep sanctuary is really nice. And we're going to reach over. In my book here, one of my favorite things that I share with people. So I wrote a book called Hidden Secrets to Curing Your Chronic Disease. And one of my favorite chapters in here is on your sleep sanctuary. Now, what happens with the sleep sanctuary is if you can't sleep, you literally cannot heal. And so that's one of the things I tell people is like, let's try to get you a sleeping environment. Make sure it's dark, sure it's a little bit cold. Don't have electronics, a TV, a tablet, an iPad, your smartphone, a red alarm clock. Like, we don't want any of that contamination. We want to try and help train our nervous system that when you go there, that is what you do when you do that is you go to sleep. So you guys, that being said, we're looking at other questions. Let's see here if I got everything covered. So that was one of them. Okay. So I got a question from Macy. Okay. Dr. West, tell me more about environmental toxins. So environmental toxins is developing to more and more as we have stronger and stronger chemicals going into the environment. Remember that one of the rules of health is you want to eat food that spoils, but you want to eat it before it spoils. So let me explain what I mean. Like if you put an apple or an orange on your kitchen counter, day one, no problem. Day two, no problem. After a time period, it starts to kind of fold in on itself. And then guess what? Like we usually have some type of mold and stuff that kicks in and it destroys or, it basically decomposes that fruit or vegetable. Well, we want to eat that before it dies. If you put before it decomposes, if you put that on the kitchen counter and it never ever breaks down, think of example, maybe licorice, or you put down up, hard candy, or, you put in a Twinkie or something and it never ever breaks down. We're just bigger bugs. Bugs can't eat it and it's really hard for us. So one of the best ways to avoid environmental toxins is to make sure that you're putting as healthy and alive and food that is going to decompose and break down that's into your system. I see another question over here. It says, Dr. West, can you tell me once again where we can get information about detox? Well, you guys, my favorite place, I almost forgot to to do this is looking at my resource, and it's right here, you guys. It's called Lyme Fighter. So I'm so excited to share this with you, and thank you for jogging my memory. If you go here, Lyme Fighter is a resource guide, which we tell people this is how you get a place to start. So it's www.lymefighter.com. And with Lyme Fighter, what happens is I talk about the 25 years that I've worked on Lyme disease and the treatments that I found to be really helpful for people, which is sleep, water, food, movement, and how we talk to ourselves. Now that's the baseline. Now people will say, hey, wait a minute. You didn't tell me any breakthrough treatments. Well, the first phase is like trying to be as healthy as possible on the inside. Then we go into stage 2, which is, okay, what supplements are really useful? And that is an immune system stimulators, things to help drain the lymph nodes. We want to protect the cells, excuse me. And we want to use my favorite vitamin to get the electrons into the body. You know that there's a vitamin out there that's literally like putting your body in a battery charger, like it charges it up. This is one of my favorite things that I can tell people. And you can do it orally, or you can do it inside the office at advanced, infusion type. So we talk about that. We also talk about the nerve reset therapy. So inside of this website, Lyme Fighter, here's what we share with you, is there is a technique that we learned in Europe called neural therapy. And neural therapy is a way to reset the nerves of the body. It literally makes them go up, open, and to close and to reset. So hyperpolarize, depolarize, repolarize. And it's how it regulates, or it literally controls the organ systems. It was found out, discovered in 1920. So it's 105 years old. And it's one of the most profound ways to help chase nerve memory. So if you've been sick with Lyme disease for a long time, one of the things that I want to remind you is that your nervous system thinks it's normal to have Lyme disease. Your nervous system thinks it's normal to be sick. We want to improve or turn that around. And that's also outlined right here. There's a way that, you get a free ebook, you can get a review with our team. And if you're across the street or across the country, there's ways that we can help you. Like we help so many people that don't even come to our office. We outline, here's the testing that we can get organized. Here's what would be a good suggestion for lifestyle. And here's how we help with your customized supplement and herbal and mineral program. And then even for a few people, they'll say, hey, look, can you help and collaborate with my doctor so that I can get the treatments that most doctors don't know about here in my area? And so those are like sodium ascorbate therapy and IV alpha lipoic acid that really helps people with the nerves and the liver cleanse out. And then looking at different ways of oxidative medicine, whether it is hydrogen peroxide, dilute hydrogen peroxide, there's ozone therapy, there's ozone water therapy, there's insufflation therapy. Like there's all of these amazing ways to get ozone as an extra molecule of oxygen in your system to stimulate healing. And then we look at advanced nutritional therapy. So all of that is right here in this free guide where we're talking about advanced glandular extracts, and we're looking at ways that really help the body to improve and to heal. So www.lymefighter.com. All right, you guys, I've been looking at our questions. We've covered about toxins, where to get resources. You guys, just because you haven't heard about a treatment doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work. And if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you're going to get. And that, when I say that, is because so many times people say, my doctor's just given me the antibiotic treatments. He's using an antibiotic and then pulsating and using a different one, or he's thrown up his hands, or he said it's, we need to add different things to help the body heal. All right, you guys, that's what I would do for Lyme and toxic overload. I'm your host on this journey and your traveling partner, Dr. West. Go to the website, lymefighter.com. If you've tried everything, I want to give you some resources, because my mission is to not have people that have Lyme here. I want to have people that have Lyme up here. We'll see you guys on the next program in 2 weeks.